Hello, good morning, and welcome to another episode of What Do We Do Now? A conversation about the live event industry. Today I'm joined by my co-host, Tony. Hello, Tony. How are you?
Hello, Dave. I'm well. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. And today our guest is Katya. Good morning, Katya. How are you?
Good morning. Yeah, thank God, really well. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. We always start this with the same question. How did you get your start in the live events industry? Tell us a bit about your origin story and where you started and where you kind of come to now.
Well, actually, it's quite a funny story because I literally fell into it. The way it happened was I was basically given a fantastic opportunity by a family friend who is a very famous artist back where I'm from, Russia. So I'm from Moscow originally, although I've been in London for 13 years now. Big chunk of my life.
So it's probably your home now.
Yeah, 100%. And so I was really lucky when this friend of ours, presented me with this opportunity. And it was really incredible because I had no experience in organizing events. I had no education in it. I have a degree in business management. So I can manage teams, I can manage people, but I had no idea how to organize an event. So thank God I had common sense and a lot of help around me. I'm a very good communicator. So I ended up just calling every person I know and asking them, what do I do? Where do I start? Give me advice. Give me everything you know. Give me all your knowledge. And it was incredible because, not only it was an incredible experience work-wise, because when I did it, it was my first experience ever of organizing a live event. But everyone around me said, oh my God, this is so you. This is your kind of thing. You're good at it. It's your kind of thing. You have to do this as a job. And so not only I had an incredible opportunity because, obviously this artist, family friend is very famous. Obviously it already kind of gave me kind of a big head start. But also, I was very lucky to be surrounded with people who really knew what they were doing and they were advising me all the time. So it was probably the most stressful thing I've ever done in my life because I was just literally, kind of thrown in the pool and I didn't know how to swim. So it was very much just like, okay, I'm having to just survive and get it done because the stakes were really high. And I had...
What kind of thing was it? What was it? What was that first event that you did? Tell me more.
Right. So it was a concert. We had about 300 people, which, obviously might not be a huge amount for me now, but back then 300 people was like a huge thing. And having to, I think people don't really understand what event producers do, but it's not just about organizing the event. You're having to think about the marketing. You're having to think about getting the artists over, which also is so many different things. It's getting their visas. It's getting the flights, the transportation, the hotels. There's so many different things to think about. So it's lots of different. You have to have a huge checklist and make sure that you get all of it done because we had, for instance, one situation where we had the whole band got visas. The drummer didn't get their visa. His visa up until the day of the flight. Nothing to do with his application. Nothing to do with how I filled out the form. It was literally just because sometimes, exactly. Sometimes because the whole band got their visas done at the same time. Just for some reason, his application took longer to process, and we were literally. I was losing hair. I was thinking, what is going to happen if we don't have the drummer? Can you imagine? But thank God he got it. We had a fantastic concert.
And so that's obviously where you sort of started, and then you own your company now, don't you? So what made you sort of start your own company?
Right. So I guess simply because doing something this big, just the legality of it, it's actually much better to have a limited company. So for instance, like as I said, I have to get visas for my speakers, for my artists, and it's just formally much better to have a company, when you're doing this as opposed to just being an individual. It just looks much better, when I'm emailing, for instance, the embassy saying, hi, could you, I'm the director of this company. We have this event. You can check with the venue. This is the artist. Please, could you allow them to come into the country because they're performing? So it just looks much better. But also, it's the legal things where it's a huge responsibility having an event where you've got, let's say, 5,000 people who are coming in a venue. Lots of things can happen, and and I'm not saying something could happen to the artist, but as in there's a big crowd of people and things can happen, and you don't want any responsibility to be on you as a person. It's much better to have it on a company and try to deal it on that level. So there's lots of kind of little specific things when it comes to obviously being a limited company.
Brilliant. And so, as you look back across your career, it sounds like you've had quite a various career. Varied career. What was your favorite job, and why was it your favorite job? Was it that first one that you were just referencing there, or is it something else that you've done since?
You know, you're making me choose between who's my favorite kid kind of thing. That's how it feels. But no, so that first one was incredible because of obviously the experience, because not only was it the first one, and I had to kind of learn on the job very, very quickly. So I'm incredibly grateful to our friend for believing in me. So that was definitely a fantastic job, but I don't think that was my favorite one, I have to say. I think my favorite one has to be, again, where I had to learn a lot. It was a film festival. So it's a film festival that I ran. I was the executive producer and head of operations and head of volunteers. So quite a few things.
Varied?
Quite varied, yes. Because it was a brand new festival. And, what I loved about it is that it was a completely brand new project. And when I started, there were no systems in place. And I'm creative, but I'm not creative. I'm not an event planner. I don't do birthdays, weddings. I do projects. So for me, my creativity comes in a very different kind of package. Let's say my creativity comes in creating systems, putting systems in place. So this festival, because it was completely brand new, there were no systems. So there was no operational. There's no strategy of the operation. So I had to literally come up with how it was going to work, put in how the accreditation is going to work. And I love that. I love the it wasn't just technical, and it wasn't just about, going to the checklist and that's done. I had to actually come up with new ideas and think, how to implement them and how to create them. And just seeing that happen, it's the most satisfying and the most rewarding thing, I think any producer, any event person could ask for. And also, I think the fact that it was a very, very exciting project. Of course, that in itself is a big reward.
Yeah.
And also, I have to say, I did, I said, with the first project, so the artist believed in me, and sometimes it takes someone else to believe in you, right? And in this project, I wasn't sure I could do it because it's a huge festival. Not only have I never ran a film festival, I've never even been to a film festival before that, So I literally had to create stuff from thin air. I had to come up with things that I never experienced before. It was all in my head, and I had to create it. And I think that really kind of helped with my professional self-esteem, that it really showed me that if I can do this, I can do so many other things.
So you reference obviously a lot of with the film festival and the artists is obviously from your sense of being born in Moscow. Is a lot of your events out in Russia, or are they in the UK, or whereabouts do you tend to do a lot of your events really?
So because I'm based in London, most of my events are actually London based. Although I have worked with Moscow Fashion Week, which was also an incredible experience. I am also looking in the future doing events in other countries. We'll see obviously kind of how lockdown is going to affect events in general, but there are big plans of kind of doing things abroad as well.
Okay.
Very cool. I mean, that sounds absolutely amazing. And it sounds like your business is developing, at pace as well. What has been, I guess, the biggest impact on you since this whole COVID situation began? Like, has it been, obviously it's challenging times for many, many people across the industry, but how's it started to affect you?
Well, listen, in March when all of this kind of started happening to us, I straight away understood that at least for the next 6 months, I can forget about doing the events that I used to do, because my events, again, so, as I said, like I'm not an event planner. I didn't do parties, right? My events were very much wider general public, lots of people, crowds, and it's very much about the atmosphere. And that's something that, because I've had lots of people saying to me, you can still do things digitally, you can do events online. Unfortunately, my events don't translate well online. simply because, well, it's two things. Firstly, because it doesn't translate the atmosphere, right? So I've heard, people say, oh, I don't need to go to a concert. I can watch the artists on YouTube, which is definitely not my crowd.
It's not the same thing at all, is it?
No, you don't feel the atmosphere. You don't feel the energy. I went several years ago to see Sting, who I'm absolutely in love with. Oh, he's incredible. I'm absolutely in love with him. And I remember I said to my dad, you've got to come with me. And my dad said, yeah, he's a great artist, but I'm not a huge fan, just go without me. I said, no, he's my favorite artist. You have to come with me. So I forced him to come with me. Not even halfway through the first song, my father turns to me and says, wow, the energy that we were getting from he I don't know if you've ever seen him perform live, but it's magic. It's actually magic happening on stage. I remember this as if it happened yesterday. He walked on stage, sat in the middle of the stage, just him, right? Not a huge band of 20 people, but just him with the spotlight on him. And I was in Hammersmith Apollo. Sorry, it's called Eventim Apollo now. So, huge venue, 5,000 people. Yet it felt like I was in his living room and he was just singing for me. That is phenomenal. You can't have that online. Just impossible. I'm not even going to go, obviously, in comedians. I mean, comedians, on Zoom is just, poor them. They're really struggling. But it's, it's the atmosphere. You can't recreate that online. And you definitely can't recreate, which something that I always do with all my events. They always have some kind of VIP package, which is always, meet and greet with the artist or like some kind of after party. And the reason people come to that, or, sponsors, for instance, give money to me as a producer for the events is obviously to meet people, to network with them. There's no way I can recreate that online. I mean, there is potentially a way to recreate that, but it's not going to be the same at all. It just does not translate.
No, I think that's really interesting. And I think you're saying a lot of what other people are saying as well, going, however much digital is good, you just, that atmosphere and that physical sort of presence and contact is really, really important. So like sort of with that, I mean, you're saying that was pretty much from March. So does that mean like, have you adopted any new practices, being that we are potentially going into this virtual world before we're going hopefully back into live? Or are you just sort of not working and riding out the wave, I suppose?
Definitely not. That last statement is not about me. I've had a lot of friends who said, oh, just enjoy. It's a holiday. Just sit and chill and wait it out. And I'm saying, well, that's just not me. I love learning. So I have been learning lots of different things. But also, I'm thinking about the future. I can't sit still. As I'm sure you've understood from my past experience, I'm a bit of a adrenaline junkie. I love the big events. I'm very active, and so I have been kind of figuring out what to do next. Obviously, in March, when I understood that I've got to close shop, I thought, okay, well, what can I do? What are my skills? So my skills, obviously, I'm very organized. I'm a good communicator, and I can kind of connect people. So okay, so one of the things that I started doing was, because the events that I used to do, they were projects, right? So I thought, okay, well, my skills are transferable. I could just do more project management, and they don't have to be event-based. So that's one thing. That's one side of the business. Then the other things that I thought, and I'm kind of getting partners on board, and I'm doing it with them, is I'm doing some online schools. So I'm not going to go into too much detail because at the moment it's kind of fetal stage of the projects, but we're working on a few different online schools. Nothing to do with events, just, since everyone's online, I wanted to do some digital projects. And so I'm working on that. But I am also very, optimistic. And, I'm worried that there might be a second wave of the virus. But I'm optimistic in the sense that, things are going to go back to normal at some point. That normal might not be the same as we're used to, but there will be events. There will be events. People already are really desperate for connection, are desperate for, being around people and doing things and going to places. So 100%, I think, there's going to be a huge wave of people wanting to go and experience things. And this is what I do. I organize events that are very much an experience of things, whether it's food, music, it doesn't matter what it is, but the point is that you're experiencing something with other people, and you're connecting with other people. So I am working on 2 events that I was kind of planning pre-COVID, and I'm still 100% up for doing it. So once we're back to normal, I don't know whether it's going to be a year or a year and a half, or I'm going to try to be a little more optimistic. I'm just going to say I don't know when, but I definitely want to get these events going.
Amazing. I mean, it sounds really interesting in terms of what you've been doing, developing new ideas, like going into kind of the e-learning thing, looking at how to create shared experiences or connected experiences despite the limitations, I suppose, of the virtual world. Like what would you say is the key thing that you've learned during lockdown?
Be patient. Actually,
oh, very good.
I've got
very good.
this wonderful mug that I keep on looking at all the time. Keep calm and stay connected. And I kind of keep on looking at it all the time and think, you know what, I've got to, because it's not connected just professionally, but I think, very important to be talking to other people from the same industry to kind of see how, what ideas they're coming up with. But I think it's also really important to stay connected with other people to see that we're in this all together, right? Everyone's going through the same thing. I mean, the same kind of thing, but people are going through maybe different things in the sense that, people are in different situations. And it's important to, to do interviews like this and kind of discuss what is happening in your world and share. And hopefully there's going to be someone there at the other side of the screen watching and thinking, oh my God, I can so relate to that. I feel so much better by watching this. Hopefully that's the effect that it's going to have.
And sort of carrying on from that, you've obviously been doing a lot sort of during lockdown and like with the e-learning and stuff. Is there anything that you would recommend to anybody that you've done that you would find really helpful to other people, like upskilling in any areas that you're like, oh yeah, this one was really helpful for me, I would recommend people to do it, like anything along those lines?
Yeah, so upskilling definitely is really important because I think, we're an evolving creature, right? Human beings. So we constantly need to be evolving. I think that if you're not learning and you're not evolving, then you're actually doing the complete opposite. If you're stuck, if you're not progressing, you're degressing. Yeah. So, things that I was doing, I started reading much more because obviously now, I don't travel anywhere. I have lots of time to kind of read and think and make notes. I started learning a new language, and actually that's been quite great because it kind of, I focus on something else than just work because I'm very much, working all the time. So it's nice to have something else to kind of focus on. And the upskilling, definitely, whatever it is, whatever industry you're in, whatever work you used to do, it's amazing to have this time at the moment and just to be productive. Really, don't just sit there and wait for things to get better. You have to be learning.
You strike me as somebody that's really, really engaged and never going to sit still. And frankly, is probably learning all the time, right?
I try. I really do.
Like a Duracell bunny.
Pretty much.
No, your energy is fantastic.
What language out of interest are you? Because I'm assuming you speak Russian already. I know that you grew up as well in Geneva. So was it the German side or the French side?
French.
So obviously you've got English, Russian, and French. So which other language are you picking up now?
So I speak a bit of Italian just because I just love the language. Well, to be fair, I speak French, so Italian is kind of, the cousin. And no, I picked one of the harder languages. I picked Hebrew.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Amazing. And how are you getting on with that?
Well, fifth week. So I have a fantastic teacher. So she's forcing me to kind of speak, which is amazing. So I can say several sentences already. But it's key actually to have like, if you don't have a teacher, to at least have like an accountability buddy, someone that you're hold accountable to, because otherwise there's no progress.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
sorry.
I suppose like my sort of last kind of question, because I know you touched on it earlier about sort of the hybrid, the new normal, and the question that I love to sort of end on is, do you think the live events will come back? And if so, when do you think they'll come back and in what form? So will it be 2021 and it will be hybrid? Or do you think, no, it will be virtual now for the rest of the time? Or yes, live events are coming back. It's just a case of when. So
that's a really good question, and I wish I had the answer to that. I'm very optimistic. So I think, as I said earlier, people are, they're desperate to go somewhere and interact with other people because, look, humans are herd animals. We need to be part of a herd, right? That's a fact. So events are definitely going to come back. In what form, I don't know, but I assume, a lot of stuff is going to be done online. The things that, don't have to be necessarily done offline. So things like lectures, things like, when you just have like a speaker and you're just listening, there's not necessarily a huge need for interaction, but definitely things like experiences, which is what I was kind of doing, film screenings. You could say film screenings, you can just watch a movie at home, but really you can't. Don't ever tell a filmmaker that, oh, just send me the link, I can watch it at home. Big mistake. That's not how it happens. No. You have to sit in a proper cinema with the right audio.
Exactly, the right projector. Yeah. Exactly.
100%.
All about the atmosphere.
Exactly, the atmosphere. And, so one of the events, one of the projects that I'm actually planning to do is a very huge festival that I want to do. And it's got to be somewhere like, in a big square outdoors, and it has to be experience based. So, and I've put the idea on a shelf, but I didn't throw it away. So it's there on a shelf, and I'm just kind of sitting and waiting for things to get back to normal, because the problem is not just locally, that we can't do things, but it's also about, for instance, like I have a client, we were supposed to do an event in April and we had to postpone. But the problem is we've postponed it to October, but I don't know if we're going to be able to go ahead because A, there might be a second wave, and B, even if there isn't a second wave, we're not sure that people are going to want to travel from abroad because we have an international guest list. Are they going to want to travel? Or if they're going to want to travel, are they going to have to be stuck in quarantine for 2 weeks? They might not want to come to London, and be stuck for 2 weeks. So, I guess to answer the question is, I don't know. I'm hoping that things are going to get back to normal very quickly, and people are desperate to do things. So, as soon as we're allowed legally, officially, formally to do things, I have no doubt that people are going to, buy tickets, come to the events, but definitely not in the next couple of months because, consumer behavior has been affected, and we don't know how, because we've never been in such a situation. We have no idea how, are people scared, or people are like, oh, we're tired of this lockdown, we just want to do things. We don't know. People are reacting in very different ways, and there's no statistics on that. Unfortunately.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think nobody wants to be the first to go back, but everybody wants to be second.
Yeah,
definitely.
They're standing, waiting in line.
Exactly. What was the best piece of work advice that you've ever been given? Or do you have a mantra or something that you live by that helps kind of guide what you do and who you are?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's not just work advice. I think it's just general advice. That's something that my father told me when I was much younger, and he's been repeating it ever since, and it does help me a lot. And I think maybe that's where my positive attitude comes from, is, and this too shall pass. And I'm sure you've heard of that saying, it's it's not 100% sure kind of where, because it's in lots of different folklores and people kind of use it in different cultures. But I know it from kind of King Solomon, so Jewish king who kind of had it on his ring. And he kind of looked at it whenever things were not going well, and thinking that this too shall pass just makes it a little easier. It means that we're going through this horrible, uncomfortable, maybe scary situation, but you know what? It's going to pass. And I think that's my attitude. I think with everything.
Absolutely, and it's so important to realize, I suppose, that these things are temporary, and that nothing lasts forever. Katja, it's been absolutely amazing to talk to you. Thank you for bringing a huge amount of energy to this conversation. I really, really enjoyed it, and and thank you to Tony as well. Say goodbye, Tony.
Goodbye, and thank you very much, Katja. Really informative, as Dave said, like really energetic, and also really humble ending. I feel like quite motivated and calm. But no, thank you very much, and thank you, Dave.
Thank you so much.
Katja. Really nice to talk to you. Take care.